Are you noticing more hair on your pillow, more strands in the shower, and less life on your head? Maybe your hair feels dry, brittle, almost lifeless, like no matter what oil, shampoo, or expensive product you use, nothing really brings it back. Here's the truth most people never hear. Your hair is not the problem. Your metabolism is. Let me explain what's really going on inside your body. Your hair is one of the fastest growing tissues in your body, but it's also one of the least essential for survival. So when your body is under stress, when nutrients are low, when hormones are imbalanced, your body does something very smart. It shuts down hair growth to protect your vital organs. Think of it like this. Imagine your body as a company and nutrients are money. When money is limited, the company stops funding non-essential departments. Hair? That's considered a luxury department. So instead of asking, which oil should I apply? We need to ask a better question. Why is my body not investing in my hair anymore? Because once you fix that, once you restore the internal environment, your hair doesn't just stop falling, it starts coming back to life. What the research shows is that hair health is deeply connected to blood sugar balance, liver function, hormonal stability, inflammation levels, nutrient density in your diet. And this is where most people go wrong. They try to fix hair externally, with chemicals, treatments, or salon solutions while ignoring the internal root cause. But here's the exciting part. There are specific foods, powerful science-backed foods, that can reactivate hair growth, strengthen follicles, improve scalp circulation, and restore shine from within. And today, I'm going to walk you through 7 of the most effective foods that can help bring your dead hair back to life. Naturally, not by masking the problem, but by fixing the root cause. And I'll also show you how to use them correctly, because timing, combination, and consistency matter just as much as the food itself. Now, before we go deeper, if you're someone who wants to fix your health from the inside out, using real science, not trends, then consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you take control of your metabolism, your energy, and your long-term health. Now, let's start by understanding the core mechanisms behind hair damage and regrowth, because once you see this clearly, everything else will make perfect sense. Let's start with one of the most powerful and often underestimated foods for hair recovery: eggs. Now, I know this sounds simple, almost too simple, but here's what's really going on inside your body. Your hair is made primarily of a protein called keratin. And to build keratin, your body needs a steady supply of amino acids, the building blocks of protein. If you're not getting enough high-quality protein, your body literally cannot build strong hair. It's not about oils. It's not about shampoos. It's about raw material. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine trying to build a house, but you don't have bricks. No matter how skilled the builder is, no matter how good the design is, without bricks, nothing gets built. Protein is the brick, hair is the house, and eggs are one of the most complete sources of those bricks you can give your body, but it gets even more powerful. Eggs are also rich in biotin, a critical vitamin that directly supports keratin production. Now, here's something most people don't realize. When biotin levels are low, your body shifts hair follicles into a resting phase, which means more hair shedding, slower regrowth, thinner strands. So when someone says, my hair just stopped growing, very often it's not random, it's a nutritional signal. What the research shows is that even mild protein deficiency can push hair follicles into a stress response, prioritizing survival over growth. And I see this all the time in real life. Someone starts dieting aggressively, cutting calories, skipping meals. Within 6 to 8 weeks, they notice hair thinning, more breakage, loss of shine. They think it's aging, but it's actually protein deprivation. Now let's make this practical. How to use eggs for hair recovery. Aim for 2 to 4 whole eggs per day. Don't skip the yolk. That's where the nutrients are. Best time, morning or first meal of the day. Pair with healthy fats like olive oil or avocado for better absorption. And here's an advanced tip most people miss. If your digestion is weak, meaning bloating, heaviness, or poor nutrient absorption, even if you eat eggs, you may not fully absorb the amino acids. So in that case, eat eggs soft boiled or lightly cooked. Avoid overcooking, which damages proteins. Now let's connect this back to metabolism. When your body has enough protein, hair follicles stay in the growth phase, anagen phase, longer. Hair becomes thicker, stronger, and more resilient. Shedding naturally decreases. But when protein is low, the body quietly shuts this process down. And that's why adding eggs is not just a hair tip. It's a metabolic correction. You're telling your body, we have enough resources, you can start growing again. And that's the shift we want. Because once your body feels safe and nourished, hair becomes a priority again. Now let's move to the second powerful food, fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. If your hair feels dry, dull, lifeless, and breaks easily, there's a very high chance this is not just a surface issue. This is inflammation. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every single hair follicle sits in a tiny microenvironment on your scalp, and that environment is heavily influenced by blood flow, oxygen levels, inflammation, hormonal signals. When inflammation is high, especially from poor diet, sugar spikes, or processed foods, your body releases inflammatory molecules. These molecules do something very damaging. They shrink hair follicles over time. Smaller follicles, thinner hair, weaker follicles, more hair fall, inflamed scalp, poor regrowth. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your hair follicle like a plant growing in soil. If the soil is inflamed, dry, and toxic, the plant struggles to grow, no matter how much water you pour on top. Most people keep watering the plant with oils and products, but they never fix the soil. And fatty fish, they fix the soil because they are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds. What the research shows is that omega-3s help reduce inflammation around hair follicles, improve blood circulation to the scalp, extend the hair growth phase, increase hair density and shine, but it goes deeper than that. Omega-3s also help regulate insulin sensitivity. Now you might wonder, what does insulin have to do with hair? Everything. When insulin is constantly elevated from sugar, refined carbs, frequent snacking, it increases inflammation, it disrupts hormone balance, it weakens hair follicles over time, so fatty fish are not just good for hair, they are correcting the metabolic environment that allows hair to grow. Now let's bring this into real life. I've seen people who eat a lot of fried foods, processed oils, and sugar. Their hair often looks dry, frizzy, weak at the ends, lacking natural shine. Then they switch just 2 to 3 times a week to fatty fish. Within weeks, they notice better texture, less breakage, a natural shine returning because the scalp environment is healing. Now let's make this actionable. How to use fatty fish for hair recovery. Eat fatty fish 2 to 3 times per week. Best options: salmon, sardines, mackerel. Pair with vegetables for antioxidant support. Avoid deep frying, grill, bake, or lightly pan cook. And here's a powerful tip. If you're not eating fish regularly, your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio becomes imbalanced. Too many omega-6 fats from seed oils, fast food, unleashes more inflammation. So one of the simplest shifts you can make is reduce processed oils, increase omega-3 intake. That alone can transform your scalp health. Now connect this back to the bigger picture. When inflammation goes down, hair follicles reopen and strengthen, blood flow improves, hair becomes thicker and shinier. Again, this is not cosmetic. This is biological repair. You're not treating hair. You're restoring the environment that allows hair to thrive. Now let's go deeper into a root cause that almost nobody connects to hair health: your liver. And the food we're focusing on here is dark leafy greens like spinach, kale, arugula, and coriander. At first glance, this might not seem directly related to hair, but here's what's really going on inside your body. Your liver is responsible for filtering toxins, balancing hormones, and regulating nutrient distribution. And when your liver is overloaded, Your hair is one of the first places where problems show up. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your liver as a central processing factory. Everything you eat, drink, absorb, it all passes through this factory. Now imagine the factory is overloaded with processed foods, sugar, seed oils, environmental toxins. What happens? The system slows down, and when that happens, hormones become imbalanced, toxins circulate longer in the blood, nutrient delivery becomes inefficient, and your hair follicles, they start receiving poor quality signals and fewer nutrients. This leads to thinning hair, dull texture, slower regrowth, increased shedding. Now here's the key connection most people miss. The liver plays a major role in estrogen metabolism. When the liver is sluggish, excess estrogen can build up in the body. This hormonal imbalance is strongly linked to hair thinning, weak follicles, disrupted growth cycles. So again, the issue is not your hair. It's the internal environment. And this is where leafy greens become powerful because they contain compounds like chlorophyll, helps detoxify the blood, folate, supports cell regeneration, magnesium, reduces stress and supports circulation, fiber, helps remove toxins through digestion. What the research shows is that increasing intake of leafy greens supports liver detox pathways, especially phase 2 detoxification, the process where toxins are neutralized and eliminated. And when this process improves, hormones rebalance, inflammation decreases, nutrient delivery improves, and your hair begins to respond. Now let's bring this into a real-life scenario. Someone eats relatively okay, but includes frequent fast food, sugary drinks, processed snacks. They start noticing hair thinning at the front, oily scalp but dry ends, loss of volume. They try oils, serums, treatments, but nothing changes. Then they make one shift, adding a daily serving of leafy greens. Within a few weeks, digestion improves, energy stabilizes, skin clears up, and gradually, hair starts regaining strength and thickness because now the internal filter system is working again. Now let's make this practical. How to use leafy greens for hair recovery. Consume 1-2 cups daily. Best forms, lightly sautéed for better absorption, blended into smoothies, added to meals like eggs or soups. Add healthy fats, olive oil, butter, to improve nutrient absorption. And here's a key tip most people ignore. If you eat greens, but your digestion is weak, you may not absorb the nutrients properly. So, chew thoroughly. Avoid eating them with heavy processed meals. Support digestion with simple habits like eating slowly. Now let's zoom out. When your liver is functioning well, hormones stabilize, toxins decrease, nutrients reach your hair follicles efficiently, and that's when real regeneration begins. Now let's talk about one of the most overlooked yet extremely powerful causes of hair loss, zinc deficiency. And the food that directly targets this is pumpkin seeds. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Zinc is a critical trace mineral that plays a central role in hair follicle repair, cell growth and division, hormone regulation, immune balance. Now think about this. Your hair follicles are constantly regenerating. They're among the most active cells in your body. That means they require a steady supply of nutrients, especially minerals like zinc. But when zinc levels drop, your body sends a very clear signal. We don't have enough resources to maintain hair growth. And what happens next? Hair follicles weaken. Growth slows down. Shedding increases. Hair becomes thinner over time. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your hair follicles are like construction sites. Zinc is the repair crew. If the repair crew is missing, small damage doesn't get fixed. Over time, that damage accumulates until the structure becomes weak and unstable. That's exactly what happens to your hair. Now here's where it gets even more important. Zinc also plays a key role in regulating DHT, dihydrotestosterone, a hormone linked to hair thinning and pattern hair loss. When zinc is sufficient, DHT is kept in balance, hair follicles remain protected, but when zinc is low, DHT can become more active. Follicles shrink over time. hair loss accelerates. So again, this is not just about nutrients. This is about hormonal control at the follicle level. What the research shows is that individuals with hair loss often have significantly lower zinc levels compared to those with healthy hair. And the most interesting part, even mild deficiency, not extreme, can trigger noticeable shedding. Now let's bring this into real life. Someone eats a diet high in refined carbs, processed foods, low-quality snacks, and very low in mineral-rich foods. They start noticing hair falling during shower, thinning near temples or crown, weak strands that break easily. They try expensive products, but the root cause, zinc deficiency, remains unaddressed. Then they add something as simple as pumpkin seeds. Within weeks, shedding reduces. Hair feels stronger. Growth begins to stabilize because now the body has the raw materials to repair and protect follicles. Now, let's make this practical. How to use pumpkin seeds for hair recovery. Consume 1 to 2 tablespoons daily. Eat them raw or lightly roasted. Avoid high heat. Best time with meals or as a snack. Pair with other mineral-rich foods for synergy. And here's a powerful tip. Zinc absorption can be blocked by phytates, compounds found in grains and processed foods. So if your diet is high in refined grains, even if you consume zinc, your body may not absorb it efficiently. That's why quality matters. Now connect this back to the bigger picture. When zinc levels are restored, hair follicles repair faster. Hormonal balance improves. Shedding decreases naturally. This is not a temporary fix. This is structural restoration. You're rebuilding the foundation of your hair. Now let's talk about a hidden factor that most people completely overlook when it comes to hair health: blood circulation. And the food that directly improves this is berries, especially blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every hair follicle depends on a tiny network of blood vessels to deliver oxygen, nutrients, hormonal signals. If that blood flow is strong and consistent, hair grows thicker, stronger, and shinier. But if circulation is weak, your hair literally becomes undernourished. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your hair follicles like plants again. But this time, imagine the water supply is restricted. Even if the soil is good, even if nutrients are available, if water can't reach the plant properly, it starts to dry out, weaken, and eventually stop growing. That's exactly what happens when circulation to the scalp is compromised. Now here's the key question. What damages blood flow in the first place? The biggest culprit? Oxidative stress. This happens when there's an imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants in your body, often caused by high sugar intake, processed foods, chronic stress, poor sleep. These free radicals damage the inner lining of your blood vessels, making them less flexible and less efficient. And when that happens, blood flow to the scalp decreases, hair follicles receive fewer nutrients, growth slows down, hair becomes dull and lifeless. Now this is where berries become incredibly powerful because they are loaded with vitamin C, essential for collagen production, anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that protect blood vessels, polyphenols, reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. What the research shows is that these compounds help improve microcirculation, protect hair follicles from oxidative damage, strengthen the capillaries feeding the scalp. But there's another layer most people don't realize. Vitamin C is also essential for collagen synthesis, and collagen is what helps maintain the structure of hair, strengthen the scalp, prevent hair from becoming brittle. So berries are not just improving circulation, they're also strengthening the structural support system of your hair. Now let's bring this into a real-life example. Someone eats a diet high in sugar and processed snacks. They start noticing hair looks dull under light, no natural shine, feels dry even after conditioning. They try serums and treatments, but the issue isn't external, it's poor blood flow and oxidative damage. Then they make a simple change, adding a bowl of berries daily. Within a few weeks, skin starts glowing, energy improves, and hair begins to regain its natural shine because now Nutrients are actually reaching the follicles again. Now let's make this practical. How to use berries for hair recovery? Consume 1 cup daily, best time, morning or between meals. Choose fresh or frozen, both work. Avoid sugary berry juices. Stick to whole fruit. And here's a powerful tip. Pair berries with a source of healthy fat, like yogurt or nuts. This helps stabilize blood sugar and enhances nutrient absorption. Because remember, stable blood sugar chalks a better circulation, healthier hair, so when you improve circulation, hair follicles receive more oxygen, nutrients are delivered efficiently, growth becomes stronger and more consistent. This is how dead-looking hair starts coming back to life, not through products, but through restoring internal flow. Now let's address something that silently destroys hair, even if your diet looks healthy on the surface: chronic stress. And the food that helps counter this at a deep physiological level is avocado. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When you're under constant stress, whether it's lack of sleep, mental pressure, overworking, or even blood sugar instability, your body produces a hormone called cortisol. In small amounts, cortisol is helpful, but when it stays elevated for long periods, it creates a cascade of problems. It disrupts the hair growth cycle, pushes hair follicles into the shedding phase, telogen phase, reduces nutrient delivery to the scalp, increases inflammation, and over time, your hair starts falling, thinning, and losing its vitality. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your body like a survival system. When stress is high, your body shifts into protection mode. In that mode, it prioritizes brain, heart, muscles, and it downregulates anything considered non-essential, including hair growth. So again, your hair is not failing. Your body is adapting. Now here's where avocado becomes incredibly powerful because it directly supports the systems that help lower and balance cortisol. Avocados are rich in healthy monounsaturated fats, stabilize blood sugar, magnesium calms the nervous system, potassium supports adrenal function, vitamin E protects hair follicles from oxidative stress. What the research shows is that stable blood sugar plays a major role in controlling cortisol levels. And this is where most people unknowingly create a problem. They skip meals or eat high-carb, low-fat foods. This causes blood sugar spikes and crashes, and each crash triggers a cortisol response. So even if you think you're eating light or healthy, you may be creating a stress response inside your body multiple times a day, and that directly affects your hair. Now let's bring this into real life. Someone wakes up, skips breakfast, drinks coffee, then eats a high-carb lunch. By afternoon, they feel tired, stressed, and irritable. At night, they snack again. This cycle repeats daily. Within weeks or months, they notice increased hair fall, thinning overall density, hair losing strength. They think it's genetics, but it's actually chronic cortisol elevation combined with unstable blood sugar. Then they introduce one simple change: adding avocado regularly. Within weeks, energy stabilizes, cravings reduce, stress feels more manageable, and gradually, hair shedding slows down because now the body is shifting out of survival mode. Now let's make this practical. How to use avocado for hair recovery. Consume 1 to 2 to 1 avocado daily. Best time with meals, especially breakfast or lunch. Pair with protein like eggs for maximum benefit. Avoid combining with highly processed foods. And here's a powerful tip. Healthy fats like avocado slow down glucose absorption. That means less blood sugar spikes, less cortisol, healthier hair cycle. Now connect this back to the bigger picture. When cortisol is balanced, hair stays longer in the growth phase, shedding decreases, follicles remain strong and active. This is not just nutrition, this is hormonal protection for your hair. Now we come to the final, and for many people, the missing piece in their hair recovery journey: iron. And one of the most effective foods to restore it is red meat, especially beef and lamb. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your hair follicles are highly active structures. They require a constant supply of oxygen, nutrients, energy. And oxygen delivery depends on one critical factor, hemoglobin, a protein in your red blood cells that carries oxygen. And what does your body need to produce hemoglobin? Iron. Now here's the problem. If your iron levels are low, even slightly, your body has to prioritize where oxygen goes. And just like we discussed earlier, hair is not a priority. So what happens? Hair follicles receive less oxygen, growth slows down, hair becomes thinner, shedding increases. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of oxygen like fuel, and your hair follicles like small engines. If fuel supply is limited, the engine slows down or stops completely. That's exactly what happens in iron deficiency. Now, here's something very important most people don't realize. There are two types of iron. Heme iron from animal sources like red meat, non-heme iron from plant sources. Heme iron is far more bioavailable, meaning your body absorbs and uses it much more efficiently. So even if someone eats plant-based sources of iron, they may still struggle with deficiency, and this shows up very clearly in hair health. Now let's bring this into a real-life example. A person starts reducing red meat, maybe for dieting or preference. They rely mostly on carbs, grains, and light meals. Over time, they begin to notice hair shedding increasing, fatigue and low energy, pale skin, hair losing thickness. They try supplements, oils, treatments, but nothing works because the root issue, low oxygen delivery, is still there. Then they reintroduce iron-rich foods like red meat. Within weeks to months, energy improves, hair fall reduces, thickness gradually returns. Because now oxygen is reaching the follicles again. Now let's make this practical. How to use red meat for hair recovery. Consume 2 to 3 times per week. Focus on high-quality sources, grass-fed if possible. Pair with vitamin C-rich foods like berries or lemon to improve absorption. Avoid overcooking, keep it tender and nutrient-rich. And here's a critical tip. Drinking tea or coffee immediately after meals can block iron absorption. So if you're trying to restore your iron levels, wait at least 1 to 2 hours before consuming them. Now connect this back to the bigger picture. When iron levels are restored, oxygen delivery improves, hair follicles become more active, growth cycles normalize, hair regains thickness and strength. This is one of the most powerful shifts you can make because without oxygen, nothing in the body thrives, including your hair.